We have a brand new report from ESPN on your Seattle Seahawks and everything going on at mandatory minicamp. We'll tell you what you need to know coming up on this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones, your fearless leader, here with you. Thanks for joining us. The Cowboys Report, Tom Dowdy and company, they were talking some smack, and I was looking around. I'm like, what? Why are we taking strays here? We hardly even play you guys that often, but we still hate the Dallas Cowboys. Tom says we can't get 1,000 comments on today's video. And I told him the 12s will never let me down. So, folks, I got your back. Do you have my back? Prove it. Spam us in the comments section. If we get 1,000 likes on today's video, whoever spams it the most, I'll shout you out on a later edition of Seattle Seahawks Day, and we'll get started with today's show. Defensive continuity. That is the topic that we are discussing here on Seattle Seahawks Today, as that is an ongoing theme for what is going on with your Seattle Seahawks as they enter 2025. According to a new report from ESPN Seahawks reporter Brady Henderson, as he spoke with guys like Jarran Reed, Ernest Jones, and among others, as everybody appears to be on the same page entering this season. And this is the second year of the Mike Macdonald era in Seattle, the second year of this defensive scheme being in place. And one thing that we talk about when it comes to continuity, you bring back so much from a season ago. 13 of 16 defenders from last season who played in at least 300 snaps are back on this Seattle Seahawks team. And you think about the guys that are not in that 300 count, in that 13 to 16 range, are guys they don't want anymore, right? When you talk about Terrell Dodson and Jerome Baker and Rashawn Jenkins, you can even throw Draymond Jones in that mix. This defense got better, and they added more pieces like Nick Ebenwari, who everybody's excited about as well. So not only is everybody on the same page, but they're picking up from where they left off from last season as well. And that's where we start with our first takeaway, is building off of last year. The Seahawks defense, we saw them really turn a corner in the second half of 2025, specifically after the addition of Ernest Jones IV, where they traded for him from the Tennessee Titans. And Jarran Reed talked about this, saying the following: when we first came in last year, it was a big playbook. So it's a lot to learn. I think that now, just banking off of last year, growing what we already know, coming in and then redoing it, it's like reading the same book over and over again. So now we go out on the field and just play fast. I think that plays a huge part into being successful in executing our plays. AD, the defensive coordinator of the Seahawks, he also weighed in as well on this, and here's what he had to say. I think it's obviously going to help you. The continuity comes with the understanding, okay, now we're going through it, the formation adjustments. They're talking through them, they're anticipating them, and they're understanding how to play fast. So it's huge that we got the guys back. And I agree. When you look at what AD is saying and what Jarran Reed is saying, I mean, everybody's on the same page when it comes to that, of taking that next step. I think the way you view last year was a building block. All right, this is where we're at. We have these players here. Now can we take that next step? And they might need some help along the way, potentially, to take that next step, to be able to pick up from where they left off from in that sense. When we talk about things that might be a little incomplete, but things are at least heading in the right direction, right? I know that we've mentioned, there could be, some potential rumblings of, do they bring in a Ramsey or a Hendrickson or something like that? But at the very least, the foundation is there, and now you go up from here. And I think that's a great position that Seattle finds themselves in, and I think they're very, very close when it comes to this defense. It was a top 5 defense a year ago. Now can they take that next step and be a top 5 defense, go from a top 10 to a top 5 defense? We'll see. Let's ask you, will the Seahawks have a top 5 defense in 2025? Our pinned comment today, type HY for hell yes, HN for hell no. Tell me what you think in the comments section below. One thing that we are learning about the process of these players and how they interact is the bonds that have been created, the friends we made along the way. And although they have not played together too long, there is a tight relationship between Jarran Reed as well as Ernest Jones IV. And I don't know how many people know this, but the two of them, they re-signed, they agreed to their deals to return to Seattle this offseason on the exact same day. And that was no coincidence because these guys wanted to play together on this Seahawks team. And Jarran Reed, we've given him a lot of credit on this show over the last few weeks of the leader that he is, the vocal presence that he provides. And he doesn't just talk about his defensive teammates. He's given a lot of credit to the offensive line, who he faces every day as well. And when asked about Ernest Jones, this is what he had to say. That's my linebacker. I say it every time, like Terrell Owens says, that's my quarterback, referring to Tony Romo. That's my linebacker. Seriously, though, he's a great addition, man. He's a great ball player. He's very smart. He's a headhunter. One of those guys we like on the defense, a physical player and smart. And you can see the brotherhood is very real in this team. I think that you go back not too long ago, and there was some issues when it came to chemistry and some guys that, brought too much attention on themselves or weren't focused in on the team. Cough, cough, Jamal Adams. But you don't have that issue anymore. You have guys that are locked in, that are promoting each other, that are looking out for each other. Even Devin Witherspoon here in year 3 has become quite the leader in that locker room as well. That continuity, that brotherhood is real with this team, and you're seeing it, and I think it's very important. Who's the best player on this defense? I could make a case for a number of guys. I could go Ernest Jones, Leonard Williams, Devin Witherspoon. If you had to pick one, who would it be and why? Who comes to mind? Chime in the comments section and let us know. Folks, want to make sure you're subscribed to Seattle Seahawks Today for daily news and rumors, sometimes 2 and 3 videos a day. Live shows each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're also bringing you breaking news, Q&A mailbags. The most interactive Seahawks channel around is right here on Seattle Seahawks Today. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. Turn on notifications so you can stay locked in and never miss a moment. Best part about it, 100% free. youtube.com/Seahawks TV. Let's get at least 20 new subs off today's video. So one thing that Ernest Jones is focused on is fixing his knee. And I don't know how many people are aware of this, but according to Ernest Jones himself, the knee has bothered him the last 2 seasons. Whether it was in Seattle or Tennessee or Los Angeles, this has been an ongoing issue. He has played at a high level, might I add you, despite dealing with this knee problem. And he had some work done this offseason. There's reason to be optimistic that he's going to fix this and get this thing right and go forward from here. And Ernest Jones gave an update on his status, and he said this: I'm feeling really good. I'm getting back in the mix right now with the guys, so I'm excited. I haven't been able to play my best ball, whether it be the knee or whether it be other circumstances, but I'm just excited for this year truly. And you think if he can get to 100%, and with the version that we saw of him at the end of 2024 and still being very young, just entering his prime years, I have every reason to think that his best football is ahead of him. And I'll add one more point when we talk about the continuity and being a leader in all this. There's a great story within this article that Brady talks about of when Nicky Manwari came to Seattle and Mike Macdonald was having a discussion with him. And things are going very well. And Mike Macdonald convinced Ernest Jones to come talk to Nicky Manwari to get the South Carolina connection going between the two of them. And they had a little wager. Mike Macdonald basically said he's not going to know who you are. And Ernest Jones says he's going to know who I am. And sure enough, Ernest Jones won the bet that Nicky Manwari was very well aware of who Ernest Jones was and that they've already created a great bond and they've only played together here for a couple of weeks. Do you believe in Ernest Jones IV? You got 2 options here. Type B for believe, D for don't. Tell us in the comments section which way you lean towards between those two. 4th takeaway from this ESPN article that is being very much discussed. We've talked about this plenty on the channel about potentially making one more move. I think we all feel pretty good about this Seattle Seahawks defense heading into 2025 that this is going to be what carries this team. And you bring back 13 of 16 players that were involved in 300 snaps or more from last year's defense. They already know the scheme that's in place. There's a lot of reason to be optimistic. But is there one more missing piece out there for them to potentially add to take this defense to another level? Well, according to Henderson's reporting, they could very well be in the market to add one more piece. More from Henderson. Nicky Manwara and veteran DeMarcus Lawrence are the only offseason additions expected to fill more than just depth roles on defense. However, the Seahawks still have roughly $30 million in cap space, which has fueled speculation that they could be in the mix for a big-name defender on the trade block. At the time of this recording, Jalen Ramsey and Trey Hendrickson are still potentially available for trade options for a team out there. And Seattle has the money. They could potentially do that, bring in one of those two guys. And I think both of them would be heavy impact players. There's other free agents that are still sitting around as well. When you talk about Jair Alexander, there is opportunities for Seattle to improve and take that next step if they decide to do so. And based on what Henderson is indicating, there very well could be some real interest to potentially make one more move before it's all said and done. So, if you had to pick one to add, would you rather add Jalen Ramsey or would you rather add Trey Hendrickson? Type JR for Jalen Ramsey, type TH for Trey Hendrickson. Weigh in the comments section and let us know. Fifth takeaway from the ESPN article, a new mindset is in place for this Seahawks defense. Now, although the scheme is staying the same, the personnel is staying the same, this team is going in with a different mentality. The expectations are moving up a bit. And we've said it before, this team is all on the same page. Everybody has bought in, which is so critical to what we're talking about here. Ernest Jones telling ESPN this: I think it's going to be special. I'm excited. I don't want to give too much because we've got to, of course, put the work in. But if the vision lives up to what I think, it's going to be something crazy. That should cry. This team is locked in. It's very evident. Now, it's all going to come together. And, I'll say this just from a fan perspective, too. This team's likable as well. Not only do they like each other, but these guys being on the same page, it's going to be easy to root for this team in this defense. They've talked about bringing the Legion of Boom back and all that. I want to see this team with that new mindset, with that new mentality of doing their own thing, really make a name for themselves and show up and show out here in 2025 and beyond. If you made it to the end of today's video, that means you're a real member of the 12s. Spam 12 in the comments section. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tyler Jones. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time here on Seahawks Today.